Everyone, thank you so much for being in the building tonight. This man that is about to grace the stage, he needs no introduction. He is part of music history, an icon in his own right, a living legend. Please give it up for Mr. Michael L. Bivins. On that side.
One, two. How y'all doing? Good. Family in the building.
Okay, Shawn, out the frame, please. We're good. Again, like I said, this man needs no introduction. Mike, thanks so much for being in the building. I'm looking forward to this interview. Since we started the series, this has been the interview I've been looking forward to the most, so thank you again for being here.
Man, I love it. I love it. Look who's in the building. Look who showed up.
Yeah.
You know, look who showed up.
Give it up for yourselves.
Yes.
Mike, I always start off in the same place because I think it's important whenever speaking to people who have had high-level success, people who have done amazing things with their life. I think it's important to go back to the beginning because it's not every day that you see people break out of the pack. People do things that are just amazing. And everyone wasn't handed a silver spoon.
Right.
So in your case, where did it all begin for you?
Wow. Honestly, I think like I was influenced by different things, you know, in our projects. You know, you had the 3-car Molly guy. I thought that was interesting because I thought it was just the card guy taking everybody's money, but it was 3 of them all together. It was the one doing it, the one making you think you could win, and the one convincing you to go try it. So I thought that was a slick hustle, but I never gave up my money because I figured it out. And then there was another guy, Charlie Johnson. He was just a fly dresser. He changed clothes 5 times in one day. And I thought that was interesting because he would walk to the store in a sweatsuit to get the newspaper, then a 12 o'clock flip, a 3 o'clock, after 5. And then he looked like he was getting into something that night that looked a little different. But I thought that was intriguing too. And then, of course, the talent shows that led to the beautiful group that all of them seem to have grown up with, New Edition. I thought that was interesting because it was a gateway to the girls. You know, it was like, even if your note was off or your pop locking was off, if you was fly, you gotta scream. It made the day. So I thought that was cool. And then, of course, sports. I just thought that it was interesting how an athlete can control the crowd. And then the projects, we kind of celebrated our own. So it was so many different influences, but I was still at a young age trying to figure out, well, which one is my strength, even though all of those things excited me, between the hustle, the dressing, the talent show, and the sports.
Now, you just mentioned growing up in the projects, and you are a person who, my God, you are loyal to Boston.
Right.
You're loyal to Roxbury.
Right.
What are some of the jewels? What are some of the good things that came out of the projects for you that helped you on your career?
Well, let me ask you a question. How many of y'all grew up in a project before? Right? Well, in our era, it was like we didn't have no phones. So no matter where you went outside or what you did, you always had to send a message back to your mama. Or your mama would send a message to you. And it seemed like even though we had these small apartments, these small bathrooms, Me and my sister, we stayed in the same room at 16, which was really not a good look after a while. It made you realize how much everybody was together. Like if it was a problem, it was our project versus that project. So even if you had a small family like mine, the rest of the project became your family. And it was just a sense of fun. It was like, you know, you had shows outside at the park, you had the leagues, you had people barbecuing, people scaling fish. And it just gave you a sense that even though we was living where we was living, we didn't feel poor, we didn't feel broke, we didn't feel lonely. We felt like we had a really good life. And to be honest with you, I mean, I look at some of the fans, the other four moved out prior to 86. Did any of y'all make it to the All for Love tour with the Magic and all that, right? So in 85, right, you know, right after, you know, Bob did his thing, Prez, they had left, and I was still trying to gauge, I'm in the music business, but I always wanted to get back home. So they moved out, some went to California. Matter of fact, they all went to California, and I had told my mom.
Now this is after the deal.
This is 85.
Okay.
This is on selling out Madison Square Garden and all the good stuff. And my mom said, well, we're gonna move out. And then I said, well, why are we leaving? She said, because everybody else left. And I said, but then if I leave, then I'm gonna leave my friends. It still didn't hit me. I was in New Edition. I just thought Project Life was the best life. So to make a long story short, we had our last concert here, June 8th, 85. And my mom moved us out the project without me knowing. So on my way back from 34th Street to Boston, she told me to call home, of course, on the payphone, and I had a new address. And it was heartbreaking because I didn't think that life would be the same not living in the projects no more.
Wow. Mike, by 85, and I want to take us back for a second because we skipped some key points that I want to bring out. But by 85, if I'm correct, you're on your third album, no?
All for Love.
Yeah.
All for Love, yes.
You're on your third album. At this point, you have obviously toured. Not sure if you made it overseas yet, but you have definitely gotten out of Roxbury.
Yes.
And you still had that attachment to your people in the projects.
And this, who's that? Behind, who's that? Nick? Bobby, right? Bobby Brown. So it was him and I in the beginning, right? And I never really felt like I was understanding what I was doing with them. I was just doing it because, you know, Bob said do it with us. So I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna still go over here and do this too. So the love that they had was still a like for me. So even with the third album, I just felt like I never really thought I was gonna be Michael Jackson. I never thought Jeffrey Osborne. So I didn't have nothing to grab on the dream, the music. So the only dream I had was just going back home. And after seeing what we was going through and the frustration and everything they were feeling, I wasn't really feeling it. Like, I said this a few times, but like the $1.87 story, it didn't even affect me. Bob and Rick was cursing. They was mad. They young, 13, 14, they was pissed. Because until we went on that tour, Shawn, like I kept $2 in my pocket all the time, so I felt like I was 13 cents short with the story. It didn't affect me as if I lost out, because I put the 13 on the 187 and said, well, shoot, I keep 2 in my pocket. It didn't even bother me. So at that point, I realized, now I figured out how to find the love that they had to help us figure out so this don't happen again.
Okay, I'm gonna take us back for 1 second and I'm gonna speed through it just to catch back up to this point. You were coming up at the birth or right at the birth of hip hop. Was singing and being part of a group something that you made a conscious decision over, I'm gonna go ahead and rap? Because rap is big at this point, 83, 82, 80, well, it's getting big.
Planet Rock, right. Planet Rock. I think it was Maurice. It was the first song we did was Jealous Girl. And you know, Bob went in and sang, and them and him and Rick had the infamous fight over the drummers or whatever. Right, Dante? The fight over the drummer, right? So then Maurice didn't like that. He said, Bob crazy, he can't sing the song. So that flipped us all out. And then we went to Candy Girl, and then of course Ralph killed it. And then it got to the section where Maurice said, maybe we need to put the Planet Patrol style in the song. And then that's where the rap part came from, Candy Girl, duplicating African Bambaataa in them. So he kind of pushed us into it because it gave Ronnie and myself a chance to be on the song. Because up until that point, it was just Ralph, Ricky, and Bob. So to be honest with you, a dude that didn't look like he had no hip hop swagger, he was in tune to music.
Nice, nice. So again, just going back, how difficult was it for you guys? Now you're coming out of Boston. How difficult was it for you to get noticed and get that first deal? Because for so many people who right now in the studio, they're dreaming, they're working hard, they're doing everything on planet Earth. Y'all had a deal when you were what, 13, 14 years old?
Yeah, we had an interesting deal. We had like a single deal. You know how the back in the day you had the 12 inch,
Absolutely.
right? So Maurice took the Candy Girl and he put it on Boston International. He just gave it to the college stations.
And for anybody who doesn't know who Maurice is,
Right, the infamous producer of New Kids, New Edition and stuff like that. And he's not feeling good, so we sent our prayers to him. It was a 12 inch on Boston International. And then it picks up some steam in Boston. And then they got the eyes of Streetwise, an independent label here. So Streetwise took the Boston International record and then they put it out as a single. And then that blew. And from that, it led to them saying, well, maybe we'll make an album. So I don't know if some of y'all heard that, are true New Edition fans, but Ralph basically sang that whole album in 2 weeks.
really?
Yeah, because it was like the record was blowing and they wanted the album to catch the wave. So, you know, when he was saying I was in the studio and this, that, and the third, it's the truth. You know, and then the rest of us was just plugging in our parts, because I think at that time Maurice said, well, if I'm gonna get it done, this gonna be the sound, this gonna be the kid, and we're gonna knock it out. So that whole album was done in 2 weeks.
Literally in 2 weeks?
2 weeks, absolutely.
Wow.
He must have been, what, 12, 13 years old, rocking.
So by the time you open your eyes, you go from being on the block, being in the projects, and y'all are hitting the road with a hit record.
Yes.
What is that like to go from, because this really defies how most people become successful. Usually it is a long grind.
Well, I mean, honestly, when we left Boston and we came here, our first shows were like 1 o'clock in the morning. So we was actually in clubs that 14-year-old kids shouldn't be in. So we would do a 1 o'clock in the morning show in Queens, the roller skating rink, then we go to the Fun House in Manhattan, and then we might come back out here to Brooklyn to the, what's the skating spot in Brooklyn? US Gate? Empire, right. We would go there, and before you know it, Shawn, the night was over at 3:30. Now granted, they drinking, they doing everything under the sun. We 14 years old in here with adults, which we don't even understand how the law let that happen. So in actuality, we didn't really look at it like it was anything other than this is how it is. So we got a crash course in the realest side of the game you could get on your first step. We didn't do the Disneyland route. We did the 1 a.m. in the morning route.
At what point did you realize, even at that young age, we got something, like we out here moving? Like because y'all went and, you know, like most young groups, you have a lot of young women going crazy. You got a lot of young tweens. Like at what point did it pick up steam and you like, hold, like they doing this for us?
The holy shit is the Menudo.
The Menudo, the Menudo era.
The
Really?
ghetto rock, that. we knew that was some other shit.
Yeah.
They literally shut New York City down. And then them niggas was getting kicked out in like 14 or 15. It was just, they was Robbie and all of them. They
For
was.
people who might not be familiar with Menudo, can you explain?
Only thing I can explain is they was big. And they was Spanish. And right. And a cute couple of them kids was real cute. And they had posters everywhere. And when you got to a certain age, they kicked you out. So they would play Shea Stadium and we were still inching our way through the Beacon, which was dope, because we was doing that 4 nights. Different numbers, but it was cool. We had our own. But the realest is, we used to wonder, what was it that made them so dope? And it's because, you know, it's a big Spanish situation in New York. And so they had this thing back in the day called March of Dimes. And they said, well, you know, we need New Edition to, you know, to be the face of March of Dimes and bring people out and, you know, what it's all about, the health stuff. And we reached our pinnacle in New York City. The mayor's office at the time, I can't think of who was in 84, but they wouldn't allow us to come see y'all the way the setup was between artists and the fans. They made us speak to our fans from Battery Park on the water.
Wow.
So that was our old shit. Like, yo, it was just, it made us feel like we had our Menudo on. Because that was the moment. Because they wouldn't let us get close, which we wanted to get close, but we took it in like, this city officialized the mania of New Edition.
New York City.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna speed up a little bit because there's so much I want to cover. You guys, and you just said something that I didn't know. The first album is done in 2 weeks. That's unheard of. Like that's going back to early days rap music. But 83, you drop a record, Candy Girl. 84, you drop a record, New Edition.
Right.
85, you drop a record, All for Love.
Right.
86, Under the Blue Moon.
Right.
88, Heartbreak. Let's stop there. That's 5 albums.
You forgot the Christmas.
Okay. Thank you. How, now I've worked with a million artists, and I'm gonna ask you because there is a certain type of discipline that you, and these were hit records. All of these records I just named had 2, 3 big records, big singles on them. How did you stay disciplined touring, meet and greets, up early, radio station, tours, and still knocking out an album a year?
To be honest with you, you know, we had 3 white managers that people said they took things from us, right? But to be honest with you, their plan for us was better than our plan for ourselves. Where we were complaining, we were doing photo shoots that we didn't know was the cover of album covers. That's why we had on Crazy Stuff on All for Love. We didn't know what that was. Like I had on 20 colors, you know? So I'm looking at checkers, plaids, I had some baggy over here, and Bob rebelled and put a tie on his head and was like, I ain't doing this. So we was finding our way, and the way they did it is they kept us moving where we didn't know what we was doing, and they was getting the most out of us. So we didn't know we was making the New Edition album. We didn't know we did the All for Love photo shoot. To be honest with you, when you're on a record label, right, back then, they say when you sign a contract, you do 5 albums over the course of 7 years. Under the Blue Moon and Christmas wasn't a part of the 5. They just threw that up in there. They said, why they over there going through their internal stuff? We just gonna sneak it up in there. Then we went from 5 on the cover to 4 on Under the Blue Moon, and it's just falling apart. And in the meantime, they kept it together. And it's almost bittersweet because where they did harm, they did consistency.
And it has to, and I'm glad you said that, because it has to be bittersweet in some ways, because the reality is, I don't know of too many groups that were that, or too many artists, soloists, that have is that consistent back to back to back to back to back in the way that you guys were. So looking back now, do you look at it as a blessing? Was it a curse? Do you look and be like, you know, they did us wrong as a grown man?
I'm gonna answer that, but I'm gonna ask Dante. When you were shooting the movie, did it emotionally affect you when you were doing the scenes?
I mean, only the scene about the $1.87.
It kind of affected you emotionally.
Yeah, and the scene about the basketball.
The basketball,
Yeah.
right. So you figure, bittersweet, how can I answer that? It's so much information though, Prez. Like some people make it this far and they just tell the downside of it because they don't know how to appreciate the good side of it.
And that's why I'm asking.
I think the good side was the downside. Because the game is insane. Like what you saw from Mr. Magic to Frankie Crocker, the people that was way up here, all the way down to the flexes and in between, the DJ game and the president and Rick James to the baby, like that whole scope of things, we can honestly say when we walk into a building, we could say, man, we done seen 4 or 5 generations of the music business, and we seen it at a different level. And to be honest with you, we feel like what we put together in New Edition, we just talked about it recently, and we said, damn, you know, who would have ever thought when we was looking at the Jackson 5 that we would be the Jackson 5 for our generation, but more importantly, there's only a few groups you can actually say Randy, Mike, Jermaine, Jackie, Marlon, Tito, you know what I mean? And I feel like you could do Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike, Ralph. And I think that means more to us than anything because pushing as a group made it so dope because everybody was able to establish who they were as opposed to some of the groups that have problems today because everyone didn't find themselves, they didn't find their identity. And that's what I love so much about our group is that everybody has their own fans. Even in this room, Prez, I can physically point out who's fan.
Wow. Wow.
You feel what I'm saying?
Wow.
But they have a love for all. And that's what makes New Edition different is even in our differences, they love us all.
Wow. New Edition, amazing. But let's fast forward. Mike the businessman. Coming into the 90s, you really, your business savvy just took over. So talk to me about how you got into management. Was it intentional? Was it accidental? And then I want to go into some of the groups that you managed and hit on the Biv 10 records.
I think, honestly, everything I ever accomplished came out of fear. You know, even fighting my group members, I felt like once I put the ball down and I said I'm in 100%, I just knew it was no way to go back. So if it's a problem and we not fixing it, then we gotta fight it out. I ain't going back. It's too late. I'm here. We gotta do it. Let's get it on. Today, tomorrow, and the next day. Whatever we gotta do. And then I realized, like, if you play sports and it's a team sport, you in the locker room with other personalities. So you can't just be all about yourself because you gotta be cohesive with everybody else. And my first business was explaining to us as individuals, we gotta move like a team. We can't move like a group. Because a lot of groups break up, but there's a lot of teams in the 80s that actually stayed together. There was no switching teams in the 80s.
Absolutely right.
If you had a favorite team like the Steelers, right? You knew everybody on the Steelers, right? That's a team. So sometimes I was trying to bring the basketball stuff to the group, which to me was business, because how do groups fall apart when they don't move as a team? So I was pushing that early, and you know, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but only knew one way to win. And it's just best to just lock the door and get it popping, and then come out and say, we good, let's go.
Yeah, because y'all really have remained brothers over the year. You and your crew, I mean, y'all are like brothers. This is not friends, it's brothers.
We still talk shit today. When we get on the phone, we may bring up a past incident because, and I was hoping some New Edition fans came, because I really want y'all to have a sense of hope. It's not as bad as you think it is. Let's just keep it 100. It ain't got nothing to do with the name. All right, that ain't the problem. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing. As we speak, there's a few little things that we're just working out in schedules, and some other things we just want to do different. But it's nothing that we amongst ourselves feel as though we can't be together. So that's why if you follow me on my page, I keep going 2020. 2020, you got to see it, you got to believe it. And my thing is, if it takes nudging one person over here and another person over here, it's for the betterment of y'all. At the end of the day, we all getting older, we got families. There's just certain things as black men that we're supposed to do at a certain age. And being separated just ain't.
Nice. At 100%.
So when you said the thing about business and I said the team, I just think that if you make money and you're making it off for something, rather you got a liquor store, a bodega, whatever you selling, that's your product, right? New Edition product means everything. So to me, before I celebrate putting someone else on, I like to always think about how to keep it together. Because we all get the biggest joy when we walk off stage together. If it's one moment everyone's smiling and that wall is down, it's coming down the steps at that last song. If you could capture that moment on camera, you'd be like, damn, why don't they just be like that all the time? They look happy. We genuinely love performing with each other, and the vibe and the magic that goes into that.
Can we go into Biv 10 Entertainment and Management? Because, and as you speak, it's so obvious that you have such a strong bond and love with your crew.
Right.
But as we're fleshing out, because you've seen artists over the years, I've seen artists over the years, some artists just stay in their lane. They're just artists.
Wow.
But you were able to be an artist and jump out and become this mogul. How did you find Boyz II Men?
Well, make a long story short, I got a documentary about my life, and that's like $1 million answer. And I'm gonna keep it in the documentary because it's a metaphor and movement on how it happened. But what I would say in that particular moment is that it almost didn't happen.
Really?
Now, it wasn't gonna be on my watch. It didn't come to me. How it got to me is in the documentary. But what I could say is that evening that they sang backstage and did that number, there was no cell phones. So the kid Nate, he was like, yo, so what you think? And they did Candy Stand the Rain a cappella. You know me, I'm Team NE. I'm like, it's all right. It did sound dope though, it was nice. But I wasn't giving him that, right? So he was like, yo, man, we want to talk. And I was like, well, listen, I go to LA in 2 weeks, and here's this number to the hotel. I live in this room. But in actuality, I was getting in the car going back to New York because we was being BBD in Philly, working on the Poison album. So we left Philly and went back to Secaucus because that's where we were staying. and this is no lie, when I got to LA in 2 weeks, which I still don't understand why I didn't give them to the number in Secaucus, but I guess I wasn't thinking as an executive. I'm like, no one even know we BBD. Like, shit, we ain't nobody waiting on us. So we all into that. And this kid called me, Shawn, 2 weeks that same day, every night for 3 weeks.
Wow.
I thought he was a little crazy. I was like, this is a little too much. So maybe into the 2.5 weeks, I was just like, yo, Money, can I ask you a question? I was like, yo, what do you want? And he was like, Mike, would you be our manager? I said, what the hell you mean? I ain't nobody's manager. I'm trying to survive what we about to do. And he was like, Mike, you could do it. Just like that. No bullshit. He said, you could do it. I said, I could do what? He said, you could manage us. I said, I don't think I could do it. And then he flipped it on me. He said, just do the same stuff you do inside the New Edition for us and you'll be all right. So, I'm sitting there, it's 2.5 weeks in, and then I just hang up, because remember, I'm 3 hours behind, they 3 hours, so he may be on 2 in the morning. And I just said, oh, snap, I need help. So then that's when I called the big homie, Joe. I said, go listen to these guys, boom, boom, boom. And that's in the documentary, his reaction. But that kid put the mindset to it. And then it made me trace backwards of everything I seen. And that's why their project to me was a turning point in the game. Because I don't know if y'all realize it, but Milli Vanilli had just did the Grammy Awards, right? So we had this album, we put out Motown Philly, Shawn, right? And it was lukewarm, you know, cool record. It didn't really go big black. It kind of went MTV, so they was going over on the crossover side. And we did the acapella joint, It's So Hard to Say Goodbye. So I'm in Motown, so you know where y'all got down that bad boy. I'm running through the halls, I'm doing my thing, and I'm like, listen, if they gonna mess it up over here, and this is all everyone's talking about, then let's forget this record and go to acapella and force everybody over here to real singing. Because now we at a standstill. And you work in radio, you know what they said? Playing an a cappella record on radio is dead airspace.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So they figure if something ain't got no music, they could be playing the commercial. So I said, well, if the radio ain't gonna play it, then we're gonna make a damn video. So from when the kid spoke to me that day in the room, he had me so fired up. My first business challenge was shifting people, clowning people with lip syncing to forcing them back to real music with no music. I mean, real vocals without music. And we finally got an a cappella record on the radio that seemed to just take on a life of its own. It's So Hard to Say Goodbye.
Yeah, that record was a monster.
Right.
That record was a complete monster.
Right. But the thing is, it came from a dope movie. Then it started ending up in the funerals, and then it just became emotional. But the point of the matter is, sometimes when your back is against the wall, I'm 21, the only thing you could think about is, how do you survive? Because up until that point, we wasn't blowing, we was just moving. So I looked at that kid and I said, thank you for testing me and making me dig inside, because from that day forward, it just turned me into a beast. I just wanted it more. And then I started looking at other presidents. And to be honest, I'm not really a part of your man's crew. I'm not the Puff Daddy, Dr. Dre, Jermaine Dupri crew. I'm actually the young nigga to Russell, Andre, Clive. So when they were winning, that's when I was winning. So to me, it was no way I could even think like them. So everything with BOYZ II Men and ABC was the thought process of a Def Jam, a Arista, and this, that, and the third. And then the Death Rows and the Bad Boys and the Social Defs came. So I was able to sponge from some of the pioneers just before it turned into the Young Gun era.
So you were almost and I don't want to put words, but just me understanding, becoming this businessman, it was by chance. It was Nate calling you to death and really making you believe and making you see the vision that you could be a big time manager.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And you know, it's a double-edged sword, and though fat, you might know this, but when you meet somebody off the street and you say, listen, I'm gonna help you out, I'm gonna do right, I'm gonna make sure you're good, I'm gonna put the clothes on, you get the music, do the video, I'm gonna move you from your crib to the airport back to your house, and you going up in people's spots, and their mama just giving you the last piece of sandwich, the last 2 pieces of bread, and it's humble, and it's just, oh man, we gonna make it, we gonna dream, we gonna eat together. It's sometimes after that, it don't be that later. It don't be the memory of what it was. Some people have a memory that's forgotten. So for me, I feel like if we down with each other and we come up together, then that's our story for life. I started being around certain artists that after a while, the appreciation and the humbleness of success just seemed like it was their talent more so than you're being up at 5 in the morning making it pop. You see what I'm saying? So being the president, it's a double-edged sword because you want to win, but at the same time, you take so many hits, you almost become numb to the music business because that's why you hear the stories about presidents going hard on artists because they don't care after a while. And for me, I didn't look at it like my personality was conducive of an uncaring president. That was the hardest part for me.
You're jumping a little forward, and I want to bring it back because I think it's so important that people understand. We're talking 90, 91,
90.
92. At that time, BBD, Poison, you're out of here. You're gone. Simultaneously, BOYZ II Men is killing. And you're doing this management entertainment thing and you're being an artist on the other end of the spectrum. And I think that it's so important for people to understand, being an artist with a hit record, the demands on you, I mean, you can speak to it better than I can, but you're up first thing in the morning, you're going to bed after the club, it never ends. Everybody wants something. And at the same time, you have a group and you're starting this company and they're blowing. How did you manage that?
That's the point I was trying to make, is that when you take that seat as a president, you gotta take all of the things that come with it. I didn't enjoy being the president after a while. You know what I mean? Because I don't like change. So that's why even with those artists, I only really was around them for 1 album. I only made 1 album with BOYZ II Men. I only made 1 album with ABC because the vibe between what it was in the beginning and where it is, I couldn't do it. I already went through that with my group.
Wow.
Everything can't just be a confrontation all the time. Some things we just, let's get money, let's go eat, let's talk about it, let's go away, let's retreat, let's move together. And I'm only 21, 22 years old. And I'm learning on the fly. Like, you gotta think, when you moving some people that are just a little younger than you, and everything is coming through you and going through you, you don't even know who to tell your problems to. If I go tell my problem to my business partner, then he know how to come through my crib. He know there's dysfunction over there. So I can't tell this kid what I'm dealing with. I can't tell them what I'm dealing with because they look at me a certain way. My mama ain't into it like that, She just want to know I'm okay. So imagine being 21, 22, and you trying to figure it out and save face.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you do got the big record over here, and you got the big label over here, but behind the curtain, it's a lot of moving parts, because when you got something hot, that means what? Here come all the vultures. Here comes the new lawyer. Here comes the hot chick with the shortest skirt to trip him up. Here's the, yo, I'll be at the studio tomorrow, I know my part. No, nigga, you be there tonight like you used to be there. So you got all these forces going against you, and you saying to yourself, is it worth it? I'm investing too much of my 12 o'clock to 7 in the a.m. time on something that I done seen this movie 1,000 times. So to me, like I said a little while ago, some of my successes were out of fear. So I was moving because I always said I can't go back. I ain't going back. So even when I was dealing with things, I used to just deal with them on my own.
Wow.
I didn't trust nobody. You know what I mean? I'm not trusting my partner. Hell nah. Too smart and he got the money. That's a secret dinner or a secret breakfast and an alteration in the paperwork. It's not happening. That much I know.
So you got one album, Boys the Men.
Yes.
One album, ABC.
Yes.
Can you speak to us and educate us on the difference between a management company? Because like you said, and I really wanted to bring it back because I think it's so important, and it really goes to your brilliance and you know, God and how he was blessing you at this point. You preceded the Puffs, you preceded the Jay-Z's, you preceded the Dre's. Actually, Dre's doing his thing on the West Coast at that point, but he's not the Dre that we know.
Right.
Biv 10 Records, can you explain what a JV deal is?
Well, y'all still with us, right? Well, I'm gonna be honest. I think once Nate lit that fire in me, right, I was like, all right, let me not be an artist. Let me really look at the landscape. I said, the first thing in business is perception. Some cats put on a suit. Some cats like Russell wore a suit with some sneakers. Everybody got their perception they want you to feel. I said, for me, let me look at all the deals out there and what are they called? You know what they was calling them? Production. Such and such production. Such and such production. I was like, okay, that sounds good. Then I said, if I want to make money with some other people across the waters, production sound like you the one putting the lights up or you putting the band on stage. I said, I ain't coming that way. I said, I'm gonna call my thing Biv, so there's no confusion, but I'm gonna call it entertainment. So I was one of the first ones to put the word entertainment as a young mogul in the music business to make the landscape seem bigger than what it was. And so when I looked at all of the other peers, I said, damn, we all getting money. So you do the math. Back then, record, what, $13, Shawn, $11, right?
Yep.
You go buy the album, right? $13.99, $12.99. A record label back then was pocketing at least 8, straight off. 8 on the 12. They would say the $1 is for old, for goods, the mom and pops. They was trying to package in and ship in. They was giving you all these interesting little, what we call them, what's the word, Shawn? The expenses, let's call it that. So I said, if we getting 8 on the dollar, 4 on expenses, and if you had a deal where you was only making 50 cents or 75 cents on that 8, because that's how some artists' deals were structured, you taking a hard one every night. So after Boyz II Men won, and we did the 12 million, I just looked at Joe, which was the best Godfather in the game, and I said, money. if I continue to take a royalty with you, you want me to act like I'm in school. I gotta add this with that, this with that. I don't know all of that. I only know 50 cents, $1, $2.50. So let's simplify this right now. If you make 8, I wanna make 4. He said, Mike, I can't do that. I said, why? If Clive, Tommy Mottola, and everyone knew I was giving a young black kid half of the money, you'll change the landscape of all of the other young people with record labels. And I said, well, either that's gonna be what you telling them, but I know the conversation we having. So let's formulate something that give me half and you take half. He said, Mike, so you telling me the production deal, the entertainment deal can't happen? Nope. So he created the joint venture.
Wow, congratulations, wow. And I think it's a couple of key things here I want to bring out, right? You said BOYZ II Men, 12. That's 12 million records sold. So understand the man behind them. You a force right now.
But it was 5, and then End of the Road pushed it to 6 more.
Correct. The BBD Poison album, same time? What is that, 4 times platinum?
4.
4 times. You're not playing.
Please give it up for Bell Bivens. Please. Shawn, I just gotta say this, man. I want y'all to understand something. That group is so dear and special to us because it kept us going at times when it was the toughest times in our life. So when you see BBD, just think of some kids that no one wasn't looking forward to it. We had all kind of conversation about our talents. It was no anticipation. It was almost like the stepson. It was almost like the cousin you didn't rock with at a certain time because you didn't know. That's basically they didn't know. And I honestly think out of the whole scope of the family, Bell Biv DeVoe was God sent.
Wow.
And the reason why I say it is, none of us have ever shared the pain that we take. When you come see the show, y'all know who's in the back. It's us 3. We damn near out of whispers. It's us 3. We got our suits on and we sliding to the left and we spinning to the right. And Ralph's spinning and Bob's humping, and it's the magic of New Edition, right? But when you look in the middle, it's the tall nigga and the 2 short ones, and that's just what it is, right? So with all of that pain and the crazy one and the fly one and what are we gonna do, what are we gonna do? I think when you look at it, Shawn, from up above, we always say God can see things we cannot. So whatever was gonna happen to us, he already knew it was gonna happen. But because we didn't run our mouth, we don't shit on nobody, we don't use dirt on dirt, he said, in the meantime of every storm you go through, I'm gonna give you a bulletproof vest and I'm gonna write on it in red letters, poison.
Wow. Wow. Thanks for sharing that because you really broke it down, and if you lived during that time, you understand what he's saying is true. You guys were the ones in the back, and the expectation of BBD was not there. So for y'all to come out with this monster record, and then back it up with another single, right now you hot as fish grease.
That's my man, right, Lance? And guess what? He's late. He would have missed that. He would have liked that one. He's late.
But you mentioned, and I want everybody to understand the name Gerald Bugsby. Can you explain to them who he was at that time at Motown?
Gerald worked at MCA Records, which is now Universal. Gerald was a LA kid from South Central, grown man. He been around the best of the best. We call him the boss of all bosses. Every black executive in the music business checked in because his game was impeccable. And back in the 80s when he started Universal as the president, he signed New Edition and he came to New York City and he found Teddy Riley and he took Andre and he dropped Heavy D first. And he said the music game is shifting to Harlem. And he was basically saying we was about to live in the New Jack Swing era. He's the sole man responsible for that sound and that deal. And then he orchestrated New Edition's career with the popcorn boxes and the Coca-Cola commercial. Like he was Berry Gordy on steroids. But what made Gerald so slick? Remember I said I can't tell everybody what's wrong? Mm-hmm. As much as I love him, I couldn't beat him. So he didn't know I had problems. Cause he'd be, oh, okay. Point taken. Gerald was so slick at his game, right? You got a contract with Bad Boy, right? But you know all the DJs, cause that's your world. Mm-hmm. But imagine Dofat, he over at Sony, and such is at A&M, and such is over there. And those your peoples. So you know what? You knew everything going on in every building at the same damn time. That was a boss.
Wow.
Planet executives. You're gonna go over there and do music. You're gonna go over there and do marketing. And when y'all are ready to release in December, you're gonna give me your marketing plan.
Wow.
Because that's how you report back. That was Joe. And he would smile at you and say, hey, either they get you or I get them. And the thing about it is, every executive looked up to him because he made you realize what it was all about. All he was basically saying is, let's just stick together. And let's come together and work out our differences so that you don't lose your job, you don't lose your job. So he would help you keep your job even though you were his competitor. That's the type of person he was.
Wow. How much would you say you learned from him in particular?
Man, listen, we did more shit off the record than I could ever say on this microphone. We dreamed together, we sat on rugs, empty buildings together. We had late night meetings together and we partied in the office together. And I learned so much about everybody else that I felt like I knew you when I met you and never met you a day in my life.
Wow.
So, like when Russell and Leor came in the office, I already knew why they was there. You know, or when any big dog came around, I'm 16, 17, and I'm in rooms and meetings that I shouldn't be in. But he was like putting hot sauce on me like a Rottweiler. You feel me? So, did anybody see the Black Godfather, the documentary? Yes. Right? Y'all saw that, right? Well, the only person they didn't put a lot of time on was Gerald. So Clarence's favorite young son was Gerald. They were like this. So even when I watched it, because Gerald isn't here, that's why he didn't have the interview. They probably couldn't find footage on him talking. But when you look at that, the boss, his favorite underboss, was Gerald Busby.
Wow. You did something that to me is interesting. And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. You go into business with BOYZ II Men, you go into business with ABC. You get this joint venture deal. You signed 702. What made you take a chance on so many groups? Because everybody wants to stay away from groups. There's too many personalities, it's too much going on. There's always the threat of somebody leaving. What made you take a chance to say, you know what? I'm willing to spend the money and get behind groups, because most labels don't do that.
It's an easy first step. When you in New Edition and you learn personalities, I could look at 112 and pick out each member in their group that remind me of a member in my group. It's the best blueprint for personalities. So when you meet somebody like a 702 or a Subway, and they're talented, you just try to keep the personalities from clashing. But those girls were Destiny's Child before Destiny's Child.
Yep.
And the Stilo record, honestly, Missy did her first record with, what's her name, Anderson? What's the girl? Right. So Missy just in the studio, right? It's real talk. And she did the remix with Puff, but she's working with us. We going like, yo, you should be an artist. She was like, no, I just want to write. I just want to write. So to get her on their record was a fight because she was really reserved. And when she jumped on the joint, it was actually the first time any one of my artists even had a feature. So when I think about our first step in dealing with groups, we were just used to doing just within. Like New Edition. Does anybody ever heard of us ever doing a collaboration with anybody? I think our first collaboration was with Missy and Puffy, right? So I said that to say that we were so dinosaur and so stuck in that when it got to 702 and Subway with Biv 10, all I could think about was you have to switch it up a little bit. So 702 jumped off Missy's career. Missy jumped off 702 career. And Subway from Chicago, they did a record with Twista.
Mm-hmm.
So to us, we was moving with the way the game was moving then. Because we were just used to just us. We don't need nobody else. And that's what was the difference with Biv 10 and why I like groups, because we were moving with the times. We were trying to stay over what the other groups was doing.
Wow. How important was it for you to get back with your original group? Because you're doing this Bell Biv DeVoe era, you're coming into your own, you're more than an artist at this point. Is there a longing for you to get back with the original crew?
So Shawn, you in 96, right?
I'm right around 96.
Lance, Shawn is trying to chronologically get me today. I see what he's doing. He's trying to make sure I don't go to 2010. 96. Wow. Oof. After everyone won?
And before you go there,
Shit.
is there jealousy? Is there?
No, it's crews. It's crews, man.
Everybody's eating.
It's the Biv 10 crew of 15 and the Bobby Brown Bombers and no, Ricky didn't have a crew. Rick was by himself. Johnny didn't have a crew. Ron had a crew. We was Guns N' Roses, U2, Rolling Stone. Whatever that is, we was that to the 100 power. It was, yeah, if that's the word. At least that's what we thought. We was too busy being stars and we wasn't being smart businessmen, because when we came back together, you know, it's crazy because on the Home Again tour, it was such a good album, but our first show was Christmas '96, and I'm embarrassed to say this. Our first rehearsal is on stage.
For a tour?
Yeah.
Okay, how'd that happen?
I'm giving you the mindset of where we was going Monday. When we do tours, we take 3 months. Y'all done seen tours to know when it's tight and it's loose. That shit was crazy. Niggas was in cities going, yo, who you think's gonna show up tonight? Yo, I bet it's not gonna be Ralph. Nigga, we did 4 shows without Ralph.
Wow.
But guess where Ralph was? In the parking lot, on his bus. Yeah, I'll see y'all in the next city. All right.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm telling you some real shit. Listen, I'm gonna keep it funky. We in Vegas, and Brooke had his accident with his heart in LA at the Forum.
Brooke?
Yeah.
Explain who Brooke is. Just
Brooke,
for the...
everybody should know who Brooke is. Brooke's the OG. He had his heart problem, the way they kind of did it in the movie, and He didn't make the next show in Vegas, and we wilding in the dressing room, and Miss Jackson's in the dressing room, Bob's mother's in the dressing room, Whitney's in the dressing room, and Ron's rebelling and getting into his whole little, I'm tired of this and this. And he's late, Bob wanna go on stage. Me and Bob's arguing in front of Miss Jackson, Whitney and his mom. Is the most embarrassing stuff. And then, you know, Rick's like, yo, I don't care what y'all talking about, I'm going to get paid. Rick goes on stage to do Belle Biv DeVoe within the reunion tour by himself. And the craziest shit happens. Ronnie's brother was our stylist, Rob DeVoe. He has 2 twin brothers.
Okay.
He would put us in our goggles and all that. This nigga went on stage and was BBD with Rick. So the crazy shit is, I'm in the dressing room. I ain't even do the show. Me and Bob, he like, yo, I'll deal with you later. I had Don't Be Cruel, so he breaks out. This nigga, he runs on stage. I'm like, well, where's Ron? Ron never comes to Vegas. This nigga goes to New Mexico. I ain't coming to the show, Mike. I'm like, oh my God. So when y'all see the movie, and he really comes on stage with the hoodie, that's the first time we seen him in 2 shows.
Wow.
He's pissed. He's got this thing with Bob, and Bob got this thing. And I just wish they could have had got the water going. And I'm only telling you this because you asked about the tour, but it's not funny now, but it was funny then. This crazy nigga was trying to squirt the stage with a water hose, man. He was like, yo, man. Everybody was wild. He was like, I'm gonna turn the water on. And the water wouldn't come on. He was spinning the joint. He was spinning it and spinning it. And we laugh about it now because that mentality and that pain and that confusion of the music business brought out so much emotion in us that what we should have been focused on what the problem was, we was all bamboozled and thought the problem was us. You understand? So we was killing it. And then we realized it later, like when it was all over, and they tried to put the scene in the movie. When we went on that road, Shawn, we had like a business meeting with this accountant. We all going up there, we had the buses, 6 buses, you know, we doing it big. And he sits down and he puts the papers in front of us and go, well, this is how much money y'all made to this tour. And it's just like, whoa, all right, get into that last page. And it was like negative, right? So, and I'm giving it to y'all because y'all showed up and y'all deserve this, it's the truth. So I'm looking at it, right? And I see the bracket. I'm like, you know that bracket shit they put by the number to like to make it more fancy looking to 0. I'm like, yo, what the brackets mean? He's like, Mike, the brackets mean you're in the hole. So I said, so I went to, not all the shows, not the Vegas show. I said, I went to all the cities, I did all the shows, and you telling me I just made a little less than a penny? He said, yeah. So I'm like, damn. And it's just 4 of us in the room. Bob's not there. Johnny not there. Just me, Rick, Ralph, and Ron. And I'm like, God damn, this is the almighty home again reunion, the biggest, the best run of the world, and this is what it is. He's like, absolutely. So, because of fear, Biv 10 was there. So, they proposed something right in that meeting, Shawn. It still messes with me. And he's go, well, y'all want to go back out? Because we can make this up on the next one, right? So I'm steaming. Because I'm thinking with this money, I was going to build a center. Like I was going to build a center in a circle and put a dome on it. Like I'm way over there in ideas. Like, yo, I'm going to make all this money. I'm going to build a Superdome in Boston. And I was like, yo, so I'm not going to get my 10 dome? Ron was like, you're not getting no 10 dome, bro. You don't got no money off of this. I said, all right, well, are y'all going back out? And they was like, yeah. I ain't going. So I got up and I just walked out. And New Edition turned into the Four Tops.
Wow.
So Johnny, Ricky, Ronnie, and Ralph went back out in '96 on the second leg with just the four. Did y'all catch that show?
Radio City.
Ready? There you go, right?
I was there.
Let me tell you the craziest part, then we're gonna get out of it. I'm like, oh shit, like Bob ain't there. I knew he wasn't coming back. We wasn't doing that. That was a wrap. I'm like, damn. You know, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I ain't even tripping off of the success over there, Prez. I'm just bugging, like, I'm not with Ron in the back doing what, I'm like, this don't even feel right. And I never told nobody this, but they was at the Lakewood Amphitheater in Atlanta. And I had went to Atlanta for some business. And because I didn't try to keep up with the scheduling, I wasn't aware of something, money. I'm in the room. I think I might have had a bottle of champagne because I was going places. And I'm high, I'm drunk. And guess who's up the street? Them niggas. So, I'm in the Westin Hotel on the high floor. Them fly niggas is up the road at the amphitheater. And I'm like, this feels crazy. It was the most painfulest feeling I ever had in my life. Because I never thought we could be in the same city and not together. And all I kept saying, you know, when you're drinking, your emotions come out. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the hell done happened? And to be honest, I never told them what I just told y'all.
Wow.
So they don't know I was at the Westin. The Westin is right off of Post Road. Mm-hmm. That's it. That nice fly Lady Marriott. And I just said to myself, like, the industry could really tear you apart. And it felt bad that day. It was hot, 90 degrees, and they was killing it. And I started looking at some of the performances, and I'm like, all right, who gonna do my part? Like, you know, you start trying to figure out if someone's gonna over swagger your part. I know Johnny ain't gonna do it, Ralph ain't gonna touch it. I said, Ron gonna double up, all right, he'll get it. And I was like, all right. And all I could say was, this is what I could never see. Because when you're on stage, you can't see yourself. And I said, damn, it's a cold group because ain't nothing changed. Only thing changed is your favorite wasn't there, your favorite wasn't there, but the flow of the group, same shit, same step, same slide. So you checked your ego real quick and got back. Cause I got back when they got off, and then Rick called me, he was like, yo. I said, how was it? He said, it was cool, we made some money. He said, we about to go do some more shit, what you gonna do? I said, let's do it. We ain't even have a conversation. Because we didn't have a problem amongst us, I just didn't agree with what happened on the first leg. So it wasn't an issue, it was just, I'm not about to do that again and not make no money.
Mm-hmm. Who are you the closest with in the group?
I'm close to them niggas for different reasons. Each person has a different reason. Like, you know, I have subliminal conversation with Bob if something's funky in the room and no one knows what we're talking about. I can have a weird conversation with Rick about somebody right in front of him. I could be on stage with Ron and give him the look and we'll always know what we're saying and we're just mental telepathy into each other, which some people see all the time. And I could talk to Johnny in a way that he may listen to it different than somebody else. It's different ways you approach them. And me and Ralph could rock with each other in a way that, you know, our guards move different according to who's around.
You speak a lot about the movie, and I know everybody's seen the movie. How long was this is a two-part question. How long were you guys trying to get the movie made, and how instrumental were you in the making of the movie?
The movie was 10 years before 17, so around 6, 7. And it was supposed to be a theater movie with Paramount. And they didn't pull the trigger. But the crazy thing is this. The movie people, so you know the truth, the movie people did not believe in the New Edition movie. Okay? We went to Sony Searchlight, and we sat down with a beautiful young lady named Zola, and we explained to her our movie. And she said, it sounds good, but I'd rather make the Bobby Brown story. And we said, okay. And then we said, well, what about the New Edition story? She said, well, I'm from Brooklyn, and I'm about to do another movie right now that's a little closer to me. So I don't think I could do it. And then I go, well, what's the movie you're gonna do? She said, Notorious. So the New Edition story couldn't make it in Sony over the Biggie movie. So it fell. 7, 8 years later, Jesse said, let's bring it back again. And we said, well, instead of the theater, let's do it like the Black Roots. Because remember, Roots was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? So I'm in the meeting. I'm saying, listen, nigga, every 8 o'clock, I was on my mom's bed. It was like consumed. And BET was like, Mike, we ain't got Roots money, right? We like, all right, well, if you can't do 5 nights, you gotta do more than 2. Because the Temps did 2, the Jacksons did 2. In New Edition, we always gotta have that. They said, well, that might work. And this was the kicker. When we watch reality shows, what do they do with us? When we watch the episode, what we gotta do? When Power come on, what we gotta do? We gotta wait till. I was like, listen, money. If you want these niggas, you'll never get the water cooler conversation. You're gonna have to change up what you think is the format. You're gonna have to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because the breaking up makes people think and it grows. And that was the only thing that we did different. And we said, well, if you don't just call it a movie, let's kind of make it sound big. Call it a mini-series. So all of those elevations is what it was with the movie. And that's why I speak about it, is because, like, the kid that played me in the movie, Dante, like, it's real, because me and him was here every day. What you wearing? What you got on? Tell him to let you wear your do-rag. Mike, I can't do all of that. Yes, you can. And where's your mother at, Nikki? What they got on my man's feet? So you lived the movie. You know, you lived your life through the movie. And on Friday the 27th, besides some of y'all that was like, no, yeah, Friday. Damn, what we gonna do Friday? Right? Everybody like that, right? Damn, what we gonna do? Ain't shit on TV. Right? The thing that was special about January 27th, Prez, is Bobby Brown called at 11 o'clock. Yo, nigga, we did it. I was like, yeah, we did. I said, yo, that shit was crazy, Mike. I'm like, all right. Then Dougie calls. Yo, son, how you feel? I said, man, I'm on the high. So I put them two on the phone. These niggas talking about who's the best entertainer. I put my shit on mute. I was like, yo, man, y'all talk for a minute. I put it on mute and let them battle about the world's greatest entertainer. It was the most funniest conversation. And then I put the phone down. I was with T. We in my mom's crib. And I said, all right, I'm gonna go take a shower. It's about 11:30. Johnny Gill, bling. Yo, Mike, what up? What we gonna do? What you mean? What we gonna do? Explain. Yo, we gotta pull it back in. Damn, man, good to hear your voice, brother. He's like, yeah, man. He said, what's the $1 million question? I said, I don't know. He said, man, where everybody at? I said, they probably home. He said, let's talk. I said, but before we talk, we gotta do it different. He said, what you mean? We gotta listen to each one. We gotta have respect for each other. We can't talk unless we're gonna respect each other. He said, you got that. Bling. Hold on, Ralph. Yo, did that little nigga live with you? Why he sound like you? I was like, what you mean? He said, he sound just like you. I said, what about when you got me in the scene at the other thing? We started talking about how we were getting at each other in the movie. So what we thought was hurting us was helping us. And all we wanted to do was get back together. The movie made Friday the 27th special. By 8 o'clock that night, everybody was on the conference call.
That's so dope. That's dope. We're gonna bring it home. I'm gonna ask you a quick series of questions. So many people see the successes in your life, but nobody bats 1,000. Can you just speak to us really quick about some of your losses? Some of the things you look back on and say, damn, why did I ever invest in this business? Or why did I start this?
Damn, Shawn.
We all got them.
That's a good one, bro. Cause there's different plays I could make. Losses, a loss. I think, honestly, the bracket stuff, that crushed me in '96. But I still live with this to this day, 2 years later. I just wish we would get out our way and just be artists.
Yes.
I feel as though when I think about what's embarrassing, it's just the high of January 27th to October 30th is embarrassing because some cats that came behind us, they just like NASCAR by us, maybe in money, maybe in other things. But we got like a generation that really cares beyond the music. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like we're letting so many people down. And I just don't like to be the one that looks like you over there in the you need help section. I feel like I want to be the one that's like, this is how you're supposed to do it section. And my loss is that tomorrow's not promised. And every time your phone ring, you hope it's nothing that takes away us being together. Like I look at TLC and I look at Run and I feel it. And it fears me because we're at 50, you know, and we got families, wives, children, and the type of show Brooke would want us to do is a commitment like you joining the army. Mm-hmm. And if you're not gonna show up with the 6 or the 5 hours with some breaks and put it all on the line, then we're gonna already disappoint him before we get to y'all. So, to answer your question, what bothers me is, I keep a tight crew. So when I mess up, I take it. If I'm on TV out of shape, nigga, get in the gym, you fat. You know, why you say that? Don't do that or do that. Like I take it, it be hitting me and they don't have no fear. like fair slants, they hit me. And I don't say nothing back because I like that. Sometimes I just wish everybody else's set would be just as lethal, and maybe it may help in overtime so that we could do the things we're supposed to do on God's time.
Beautiful. What's the best advice you ever received?
Shit, from my mama. Dante killed that scene. She said, don't you ever leave no damn money on the table. You know, and this is a woman that, shit, bro. She had 3 jobs, just me and my sister, you know, and still to this day, she got a job. Like, she ain't in my pocket. She ain't never been in my pocket. Cause she said, if that don't work, what we gonna do? I'm not gonna ride you. So she's 70 plus, man. 2 weeks, she get her own checks. And the best advice I got was not only not leaving on the table, but protect what's yours on the table and think about what to do with it once you get it. So it's like a 3-part thing. Because she grew up with the Al Greens and the Dramatics and all of those stories. Yep. So she's like an unsung mom too. She like all those stories and stuff, her favorite artist. And she was just like, just don't be that. And then she said, you know, if you owe the government money, Mike, you owe them $98, just like this, and you got 100, give it to them. She said, if the 2 cents is all you got, flip it. Don't ever be on nobody's television running from the government, because you can run, but you can't hide from them. That's and right. They embarrass you. Yeah. So even to this day, I ain't go to school for taxes, but Fish knows every time them 4 quarters call, I call him. He like, yo, bro, you good? I'm like, nah. But I keep thinking about my mom. It's what you're supposed to do. And if it's done right, then it should work for you.
It's great advice. Give me the flip side of that. What's the worst advice you ever received?
Shit. Man, there's so many of those though, Shawn. The worst. You asked me this yesterday too. I told you to wait because I couldn't answer it then. I don't know, bro. I guess damn. These are good questions, man. And pardon me if I don't have the answer, because I don't.
Okay, tell me this. What advice would you give to 21-year-old Mike Bivens?
21-year-old was right. Crazy.
Because you in the thick of it then.
I was rocking. You couldn't tell me nothing. I had attitude. I had a crew from LA, Boston, New York, Chicago, Detroit. Everywhere I touched down, it was right. Shit, we was running basketball leagues at music conventions. When you went to the Jack the Rapper, you didn't just go for the demo, you went to go to the gym. We had the gym popping. It was more people in the gym than in the lobby. So what I would tell that young Mike, I would say, do it again. And keep your friends. And try to, you know, try to be an example and have these one-on-one conversations more often so people can sponge their information. I didn't do a lot of this then that I'm doing now. So I would have did more of these back then because one, it gives you a chance to get some things off your chest, and 2, you get a chance to see everybody and hope that you're touching them because we ain't making this up. I feel as though I ain't live a lie, so I can't lie about it.
That's right. That's
you know?
right.
And sometimes, you know, my candor is what it is. Like, even in my documentary, like, my babies, they was like, Daddy, can we watch your story? I said, I'll let you know what parts you can watch and what parts you can't, baby. And I realized that it's hard to tell a story and curb the word and the pain when you're telling the story and how you felt. So with my story, it's probably gonna be a little Dave Chappelle, a little Rick James at time. Because when I'm telling you that story, I'm talking as if I'm still in the moment. And I don't know how to express it that way. And then I pull it back in because I am a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother to brothers. And I like to maintain my respect because I give it out. But I want to say something you didn't ask me, is even to this day, with everything I accomplished, and I don't mean no harm in saying this, there's some dudes that I reached out to, they ain't even reached back to me. And it rocks with me a little bit because I'm like, nigga, you ain't that well off. You ain't even really that busy. And I'm like, we supposed to talk because you supposed to even wonder, why am I calling? You feel what I'm saying? If you don't know why I'm calling, because you in your zone or you feeling something, then you're missing the point of, I might not be calling because I need you. I could be calling because I need to put you with someone that wants you. And so to this day, and my wife and Fish know that I got like a list of niggas that are like just cornball. Like, if I was 50 Cent, right? If I was the 50 Cent of R&B, I would quit. Cause I'll be murdering niggas. I'll be like, yo, he's a fraud. And I say to, no, Shawn, I'm dead ass. And I say to myself, you can't be that guy, Mike, cause you new edition and broke it. He don't want you being like that. I try to remember that. But deep down inside, money, I wanna rip a hole in some of these niggas. Nigga, you be shocked who they is too, right? Cause I say to it like, the game done changed, so it ain't like a lot of record sales and everybody gotta go on tour to survive, people gotta start businesses, niggas is in cannabis, niggas, yo, I gotta put out underwear, like whatever it is, you gotta do it, right? But if you good, I'm good, she's good, and we talk to each other, that's 5 heads better than one. Exactly. Right? That means I ain't gotta put up a whole 100, I could put up 20. And you could put up 20, so if we lose on 20. We don't lose on 100. So I say to myself that, why am I still here, right? And it's because I just want my group to do the tour, do whatever it is, and just leave this shit right here. And if you want to flip out, nigga, I'll flip with you. But at least just leave it here. Let's not have people wonder why. Like, listen, the 3-letter word, why? Why? What's the problem? What's wrong? Call them. Say hi. Take them to lunch. Like, you figure, just do the simple things. Because I feel like what we did, 29 million people cared.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
29 million people cared on a channel that wasn't popping, who some people was gonna lose their job. Someone's like, yo man, what number is that show on again? Oh, okay. I ain't watched them in a minute. So us making a movie with BET, then no one said, oh, that's gonna pop, man. Don't make no Lifetime shit. We had everything against us, right? And then when Dante and them came rocking, oh shit, you watching the movie? It was like everyone, right? It probably was you, right? It was like, this is a real movie, right? Oh, look at Ralph, oh, look at Ralph, oh my God. So you figure what we put out there it's something special. And when we leave it on a certain level, we could sing we came and we conquered. You feel me? And that's the only reason why I'm still here. And it's the only reason I care. Because other than that, it's being popular don't really pay no rent. Alright? And not returning somebody's call is just not good business. And when you call, or should I say when you text, you tell them how long it took for me to reply.
I was gonna end it that way.
It's your show, nigga. Any way you wanna end it.
I usually ask one last question, but I'm gonna leave it alone because I know you pressed for time.
No, I'm good.
But
Go ahead,
it's,
Shawn.
okay.
Because Fish just got here.
It is so.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fish Grease. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, Tisha L. Bivens, my wife. Go ahead, Shawn.
It's so important that I acknowledge what you just said. Since the day I met you, you have always been consistently the same person. Humility is an understatement. And when I hit him, knowing you're traveling, you're busy, and I told him what we were doing here and how important it was for him to share his wisdom and experience and knowledge immediately. And I wish I could pull up my text. I would show, Prez, whatever you need, I'm with you.
Yep.
Give me the date. That's simple.
Yep.
And for that, I say thank you so much, because I believe that so many people in this room, and when we release the video, they'll benefit, because if you, somebody who has been in the game for as long as you have, still have the humility and common decency to return a text, why would somebody who has 1 year of halfway fame and popularity feel the need that they can't return a text?
Right. But look, I'm gonna say this, then you could go, man. Like, the real stuff I was explaining to my wife, like, do y'all really know who he is? Yeah. Right? So, the company that you built is the lifestyle of some of us in the 90s, okay? You got your flamboyant boss, and you got all of the great other executives, and you doing the dirty work and getting that pop and toning them on the music. Everybody's doing their thing. Uptown, this, that, and the third. If I looked at you like you ain't working Craig Mack, you're not working Juicy, you're not working Carl Thomas, and I judged you because it's 2019, then I'm disrespecting your legacy.
100%.
Okay? So, some of us don't realize that to respect somebody isn't to ask them for nothing in return. Because your text to me was, you never asked me for nothing. What can I do for you? And I never answered you.
Yep.
And I wanted to say that it makes me feel good to know your ears is the serious shit, because that label, Bad Boys Hits, got like 5 different discs to it. And to work each record and to make sure we hear it and feel it is a hustle in itself. So when you thought you was coming to rock with me, I was really looking forward to come rock with you.
I appreciate
Because if I could have had the ears that you had, then my music hit side would have been longer as an executive. I just kept going back and forth. And when you did the DJ Awards and you invited me, I needed that look. Nigga, I was in a suit. I thought I was going to the Grammys. I was early, right?
Yes, you are.
I was like, when I'm going on, me and Vince, we was dressed up and shit like we was in LA. Because at that time, I wasn't doing nothing. You feel me? And you made me feel important.
I made you feel important. Okay.
Listen to me, listen, I wasn't doing nothing. And you told me to come. And when I came, and I seen DJ Mustard coming through and all of the new ones at that time, you actually put me back in the mix because I made some contacts in that room. And then I took flight. So I didn't ever tell you that just because you think we good, you don't know how it feels to be thought of.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love that.
I want to tell you how real he is. I went to a New Edition show for their 30th anniversary. I got the picture to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
He took the jet book from me. I was flashing the jet book. I was in the first row. Me and my son, you know. He took the jet book from me and had every New Edition member sign it.
Wow.
And I would never forget that. And I've been going to their shows since I was 15. Since the Beacon Theater, Ritz Theater, I've been going to every New Edition show. He know.
Yeah.
I go everywhere he go.
Yeah.
And he took that jet book out my hand and made every member sign it. And I got the picture right here to show you.
That's real chunk.
That is a testament to class. And I guess we'll end it there. Do me a favor, everybody, please rise and give it up for this week's Power Move Maker, Mr. Michael Bivins. What's up, guys? Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video. Truly appreciate you. If you like anything you heard here today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you know anybody that can benefit from this message, feel free to share. Peace and love.